Okay, so this is going to be hopefully a pretty easy how-to video on how to install a Hurst comp stick kit into your 2014 or lower Dodge Challenger. I've already kind of got a little bit of the stuff ready here. I've already shifted the car into neutral, and the first thing you have to do is, as you can see, there's this little chrome collar here that goes on the bottom of your shift knob, and you want to carefully pry this down. Now in order to do that, a small flat tip screwdriver flathead will usually work and do the trick. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. And there you have it. It's easy enough. Just want to be careful when you do that. This is just pressed on here, so you kind of want to pull up sharply. You might need to use a little bit of muscle, and it comes right off. You also pull your old collar off. So I'm just going to set these in the cup holder here, kind of get them out of the way. Now at this point, the easiest way to go about doing this is with these handy trim tools. You can find these at Harbor Freight for really cheap. And you just kind of want to get underneath and slowly pry up. Remember, it's not a race, and you could risk breaking something if you're trying to go too fast and not really thinking about what you're doing. And I've already started to move it around the edges around here, and like I said, you just kind of want to be careful. It's not a race. It'll slowly start to come up, and you do have to reuse this piece, I believe. It's not quite to the point where I can start removing it by hand yet, but we're getting there. And with a little bit of finesse and patience, slowly you can start to get it off. Again, you kind of want to be really careful with this, because it can break and snap really easy. Unfortunately, it's made out of plastic, so you just kind of got to wiggle it out, be really nice to it, and hopefully it'll cooperate with you. And now, as I was saying, this pulls right off. Now, if you want to make a note, that's what these clips look like. Now, up close, can't really see that because of the camera. It's got a bunch of grooves on all the clips, so that's essentially what you're fighting when you're trying to get this thing out. So I'm going to go ahead and set it aside. Now what you want to do now is separate your shifter plate here, which also will be replaced with the Hurst kit. And in order to do that, you kind of want to do the same thing. Just be very careful. And if you notice, you have a clip here, as well as two clips, one right here, one right there on the other side. So that's what you're going to be trying to mess with and get a hold of. Here's this side pulled off, so I'm just going to do the same with the other side. Right over here. And so with all four clips removed, it just pops right out. One thing you do want to make sure that didn't happen while you were trying to remove that piece of trim was this white shift block, is what I call it. What happened with me was one side had kind of come up a little bit. It just snaps back into place, so what you want to do is just make sure it's properly seated. Now the next step you're going to want to do is remove your black plastic shift ribbon here and basically set it aside. Now with the shift ribbon removed, you can either roll it with a rubber band, or what I did was just stick it into the change holder here, and the two sides, one here and one over here, as you can see, you kind of want to stick it all the way to the right so it won't unroll itself, because if you rotate it like that and stick it in like that, it'll unfurl a little bit, and you don't want that. You want to do this so it can maintain its shape, so when you go ahead and reinstall it, the curve will still be there and it won't bind up on anything. Because as you can see, the top of the shifter here is nice and curved for it. One other thing that should be noted, this shift ribbon, sometimes during reinstall, you'll have an issue with it binding up when it goes into drive. Now, that itself is not a big deal, because Hurst has supplied this little guide, you could say, and really all you got to do is just stick it in there like so, and it should fix that problem. Now that that's been installed, I can go ahead and reinstall this trim piece, I should say. Really easy, just clips back in, like so. So now with that installed, I can finally install the full metal Hurst shift plate, and it goes back on the same way it came off. The old one came off. Might have to use 2 hands on this. And you just kind of want to be careful. So you really don't want to break anything. And what you want to do is Hurst has supplied 3 set screws. As you can see, I've already started the 2 on the top of the threads, and then there's 1 more on the bottom here, which I'm going to go ahead and start. Don't want to put it all the way through because then that'll prevent you from installing this part of the stick properly. And another thing is, on any instance like this where there's set screws involved, once they're in, you kind of don't want them to move around or back out or anything. So a little dab of Loctite will do just fine. So the screw here on the stick, that goes forward, and you want the stick flush right here with the top of the OEM stick. You want it flush right there at the top. I'm going to go ahead and start screwing it in. Now that being said, you can go ahead and put a couple dabs of Loctite up here, and then once this part is done, you can go ahead and do the same down there if you so please. And what you want to do now is, I did put the Loctite in on the top too. Just go ahead and make sure they're tight. Just like so. So now I'm just going to do the same with the bottom one down here, and we'll be on our way. Now this other part here is the jam nut or lock nut, which will go onto the stick. Go ahead and screw it down, because this is what's going to be going back up and backing up against the shift ball. Now what you want to do is take your Hurst shift ball. Actually looks kind of cool. Really nice build quality too, but anyways, go ahead and start threading it on. Now you want to go almost all the way down. Actually, that lines up damn near perfect. But I'm going to go ahead and back it off a couple turns. And then I'm going to start threading the lock nut upwards. And I'm going to tighten the lock nut with a 3/4 or 19 mil wrench. Just like so. Just give it a couple good grunts. Make sure it's nice and tight. The next and last step is to reinstall our trim ring around the shifter. It's going to be a tight fit. There's no way around that. So let's go ahead and get started on this. When you're installing, go like this, as I just did. And now I'm just making sure everything's seated properly. And there you have it. Looks really good. So now, go ahead and cycle it a couple times. Make sure everything's good. Looks a hell of a lot better now. I love the look of these Hurst shifters. And of course you can't forget the finishing touch. You gotta stick that badge somewhere. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a pretty simple and easy install. In total, it might take you about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your skill level, but it's really not all that hard. Until next time, guys, you all stay classy.